This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
He's one of the very best in the world at betting the NBA, has been for several years, and he joins the program now. Professional sports bettor Erin Rynning here on the Progressive Guest Line. ER, good to talk to you again. It's been a minute. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Always good to be with you. And we kind of in the dog days of the NBA right now. So it's been a really solid first half of the year. Hopefully I can do the same in the second half.
Okay, very good. I want to start with this. The Celtics are laying a huge number again tonight. The Bulls are bad. We all know this, although they just beat the Nuggets. How much have you adjusted your power rating on the Celtics from the beginning of the season? They've lost in this spot like several times already this year, certainly not covering.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat rare when you have a team that's won, essentially 70% of their games are just under, and, about 18-28 against the spread. So it hasn't been good, but, it was kind of a somewhat of a perfect storm for this team to be a little bit overrated. Obviously, they came out opening night, couldn't miss a three-pointer, beat the Knicks big. I had a bet on the Knicks in that game. Started 21-5 straight up, but if you guys have mentioned, and Paulie, they're not winning these games. 11-10 of their last 21 games. But even last year, and this has happened with a lot of teams. I'm not saying they're not the best team, but they got a great ride to the NBA title. They played an 8 seed, a 4 seed, a 6 seed, and a 5th seed to win the championship. Mm-hmm. There's no question that they're extremely talented. And look, the NBA has always been 2 seasons, the regular season and the postseason. And I guess you could probably say that with the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs now. It's just you're going to have a different power rating on the Boston Celtics from the regular season to the postseason. And, it's definitely kind of the dog days are doing some different things. The urgency is definitely not there for this team. So, I've been trying to bet against them now in these spots, and you're getting some pretty good money lines.
Absolutely.
Going against them.
Yeah.
How about the Cavs and what you think Atkinson has meant to that team? Number 1 offense in the league. A little bit of a rough stretch, though, where they lost 3 in a row. The defense has let them down, and now they're laying 7.5 in Miami tonight. Your thoughts on the Cavs, this game tonight, Miami off an overtime game?
I tell you what, this I had been waiting for Kenny Atkinson to get an NBA job for years. I liked him at Brooklyn. I bet him a lot. He was a good coach for the Nets, and I think Golden State has missed him on the sideline. But I had been waiting and waiting. He waited to get the good job here, so I had probably bet Cleveland 80% of their games. I definitely haven't bet against them so far this year. Right now, the second best against the spread team in the NBA. Actually, surprised the Grizzlies were the best, but he's done just a great job. Obviously, a lot of analytics, etc. With this team. And what I remember reading some of the quotes before he started the season, and he talked about being ahead of the game, being ahead of the league, and doing things that were not being done. And to agree, they have done those things. So they've been phenomenal. It's essentially the same team it was last year, but I think Mobley, they're using him in different ways, and he's improved incredibly as he kind of comes back to this team now. I did not bet them. I did not lay it. And now it does get tricky because, you both have Cleveland and Oklahoma City, and they've had some bad losses here. Cleveland just lost 3 games in a row. So, like I said, it's kind of the dog days. I did not bet them here. I did. My biggest bet tonight is on this game under the total. With Cleveland, we've seen them here of late not play that great a defense. And Atkinson and the team kind of woke up a little bit. And, before that Detroit game said, hey, if we want to be an elite team, we can't be middle of the pack defensively. We have to step that up. We saw them hold Detroit to 91 points. They're also playing a lot of zone defense right now, which, if you know basketball, that can bog games out, and nobody plays more zone defense against than the Miami Heat here. In fact, Max Strus has kind of trying to explain to this team how they played zone and did it well in Miami. So, that backcourt can be up against it for Cleveland a little bit from a defensive standpoint, but we get a little break. Darius Garland's out tonight for the Cavs. So I still think, under the total is definitely the way to look in this game.
Well, yeah, I think you probably are responsible for moving that number. It was, 228, I think, overnight or earlier this morning anyway. Our guest is Aaron Renning, professional sports bettor here on the Progressive guest line, but 224.5. Great analysis there. You think maybe still worth a bet to the under. What are your thoughts on these two teams coming back? First game now since France, talking about the Pacers and then the Spurs. They're at home, catching 3.5 in that neighborhood against the Clippers team right now, ER, that is playing some pretty damn good basketball.
Yeah, and I guess I'll touch on the Spurs and the Clippers first of all. And the Spurs team is you saw them kind of check out a little bit before taking this trip over to France. I mean, I think they're 1-7 straight up against the spread, very similar. So with a young team, it seemed to be a little bit out of gas or whatever. And let's be honest, they have not done a great job from a personnel perspective, building in some of these young guys. Kind of waiting to take the next step around Wemby. And I'd say they've just been a little bit disappointed here so far. But obviously, a big, huge win against Indiana, blown out in that second game here. So I think this is a very tough spot for a team that had already signs of wearing down and almost ready to pack it in and play for next year. And boy, I've bet this Clippers team quite a bit. Really like this team, and now you get Kawhi back in the fold here, playing a lot in the first quarter, the second quarter, not so much at the end of game. But it sounds like that's going to change a little bit. But as poorly as I talked about the San Antonio team, the Clippers have been kind of the opposite. They've been winning games, definitely covering the spread here. So I bet this game, I like to say around the world, I bet the Clippers first quarter, first half, and the game. I would say probably the Clippers first half is the best way to look at this. I also did take a shot against Indiana. I bet Detroit. A couple of bad efforts, as I mentioned. They took Cleveland's best shot the other night, held to 91 points. Beat by Orlando before that. But again, not sure about the spot here for Indiana. Nembhard's been unbelievable for this Pacers team. He's questionable tonight, so that would be actually kind of a key loss for them. But I took Detroit plus the points for a smaller bet. Okay,
very good. What do you make of this total now? And the market has moved it up in the Knicks game as they're hosting the Nuggets. Knicks offense has been on fire, 140 plus. Back-to-back games, the Nuggets defense, the exact opposite. They're getting torched. The first time they played, it was a blowout. Knicks scored more than 140 in that game. Did you happen to have any action on this game earlier today?
I did not bet this. I wanted to play the Nuggets kind of off back-to-back losses here.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been involved a ton with Nuggets. It was funny because I was playing them over the total quite a bit when we saw the style they were playing with the up-tempo and not much defense. And I got off it because I'm like, well, probably no value with this anymore. And it's just been the complete opposite. It's just amazing, like Memphis and Denver just continue to get over the total. It's always tricky in the NBA because you get a certain point and a certain number. Certainly it seems in the 240s, where a lot has to go right for four quarters to get these games over the total. So a strong lean here towards Denver. Again, they're off two bad losses, and kind of waiting for head coach Michael Malone to blow up and call this team out from a defensive perspective, which he has to a certain degree. And we've seen this team actually respond a little bit defensively when he's done that in the past, and certainly including this year. And, the Knicks are, kind of a tricky team because this defense should be much better, I would think, than it is. I mean, they don't have a lot of rim resistance. The guards can be a little bit of an issue, but middle of the pack for a Tibbs team is definitely out of the norm here.
No doubt. 30 seconds here. Your reaction to the opening number for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, it was about where it was. And I mean, we talked about it here with the NBA. I mean, you just have to have a different power rating with the Kansas City Chiefs from the regular season to the postseason. I mean, because you're going to expect things to go down. But my number did show a little bit of value with Philadelphia, but boy, just hard to go crazy betting against Mahomes in this price range. So for me, it was a smaller bet. I did show a little bit more value under the total, so that's going to be my bigger bet in the Super Bowl. And boy, we've seen it a lot over the years, not when these teams are matched up, but I think first half under probably the best bet there.
Very good. Right. Awesome to catch up, ER. Thanks so much for the time. Be good.
All right. Thanks for having me. Have a good night, everybody.
There you go. Pro better. Aaron Renning, as good as it gets. Up next, win some, lose some, including maybe the most improbable thing to happen all year in college basketball.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
It's good to have you on board as we are live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino almost every Wednesday throughout the entire season during the football that we had in the NFL. Sal Paolantonio, the great Sal Paolantonio, joined the program as he does right now from ESPN, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. We like to call it Wednesdays with Vito's son. Good afternoon, pal. How are you today?
Yeah, we're good. Eagles are in the Super Bowl. Holy man. You know, when your hometown team, the team that you've covered for 34 years, is in the Super Bowl, you're in demand everywhere, all at once, snap, crackle, pop. It's a crazy, crazy week about to happen. I am going to New Orleans on Saturday, and I'll be there until Tuesday of the following week.
Wow.
It's a great city. I don't know if I could last in New Orleans for that long.
Oh yeah. Well,
okay.
Well, I'll be working, Mitch and Paulie. I will be working just like I was 2 years ago when the Eagles were in the Super Bowl in Scottsdale. And there are some interesting things. I went back and I watched a lot of the tape of that game. Of Super Bowl 57, which I think are instructive for this game. You know, every single one of these close games by the Kansas City Chiefs has two signature definitions. One, Patrick Mahomes' improvisation on third down and in the fourth quarter, his ability to extend the drives. And that was true in Super Bowl 57. Remember, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs had 15 first downs in the second half against the Eagles defense, an Eagles defense that led the league in sacks most of the year that season. It was so bad that after the game in the locker room, Brandon Graham broke down and apologized to the team for getting no pressure on Patrick Mahomes in the second half. That's how bad it was.
Well, but that's who he is and how he operates, right, Sal Pal? I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes in a big game. They were dogs in that game against Philadelphia. They won it anyway. They were dogs last year to the 49ers. They won that game in double overtime. Yep. And now they're favored against your Philadelphia Eagles. What do you make of that number?
Yeah, you got to be prepared for Patrick Mahomes in the fourth quarter, and especially on third down. You got to have a spy on him. You know, I think in this particular game, it'll be different because Vic Fangio used to spy on Jaden Daniels. He used Oren Burks. Philosophically, he's against the spy, but he used Oren Burks on Jaden Daniels. I thought Sean McDermott did a poor job of spying Patrick Mahomes, especially in the fourth quarter. They got to him a little bit early in the game, but then they'd let their guard down. So you can't let your guard down against Patrick Mahomes. I think the Eagles will have enough firepower in this game to win it if they can take care of Mahomes getting out of the pocket. Remember, they had a 10-point lead going into the halftime locker room.
Right.
And teams that had a double-digit lead going into the halftime locker room in the Super Bowl were 36-1. The only loss was Matt Ryan to the Pats. Now it's 36-2. And teams that scored 4 touchdowns or more were undefeated in the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game going into Super Bowl 57. That's the only time a team has lost in the Super Bowl or the NFC or AFC Championship game scoring 4 touchdowns or more. The Eagles will have enough firepower. Remember, The biggest difference between the two teams last year, 2 years ago, and this time around. 2 years ago, the Eagles had Miles Sanders. He was nothing in the Super Bowl, didn't do a thing, had no catches, 16 yards rushing. Miles Sanders out, Saquon Barkley in. The Eagles will have enough firepower to get an early lead on Mahomes like they did last time 2 years ago. The question is, will Vic Fangio have enough defensively to limit Patrick Mahomes in the second half? The Eagles will have the lead again going into halftime of Super Bowl 59.
There you go. That's strong. And Hurts was awesome in that game other than the fumble before halftime. And I was going to ask you that, too, because 2 years ago, a lot of Eagles fans blamed Gannon for the game plan and what happened in the second half. Is it a big difference, huge difference, I guess, to have Fangio? And you were high on this defense and talking him up a couple months ago. What do you think of Fangio's second half Fangio game plan? And I'm a little disappointed with how the defense has played the last two games. Stafford almost brought him back, and then Washington moved the ball but turned it over 4 times.
Yeah, they did, but they turned the ball over. Why? Because the Eagles took it away. The Eagles took the ball away from Washington. But, and it's a huge but. Washington's not Kansas City, okay? So forget about that. Do not compare the Washington Commanders offense and Jaden Daniels to Patrick Mahomes II. It's just not comparable. And rightfully, Gannon was blamed for that loss. Remember, he was flirting with going to Arizona at the time. People were questioning whether he had both feet in and his whole soul into that game.
Right.
He blitzed Mahomes 32% of the time. 32% of the time, and did not get home. That was his highest blitz percentage in any game that year. So they could not get home. They had a bad defensive game plan. They couldn't keep Mahomes in the pocket in the second half. That's where this game will be won or lost.
How's Dickerson?
Dickerson's the big question mark. You hit the nail on the head, as usual. I think Juergens will be fine with the back injury. Dickerson has a knee injury. They did not practice today, but if they had practiced, he would not have practiced. The other one to watch is Devontae Smith with a hamstring injury. Anytime you're telling me my wide receiver has a hamstring injury, I anticipate that in New Orleans, he'll still be listed as a limited participant come Wednesday. I think they won't rush him back. You want to get him on the field, they won't rush him back. And they just got to get Dickerson as plenty of rest as possible. But listen, it's about the Eagles' defense and Mahomes. Mahomes had 6 rushes for 44 yards. I think they keep him under 44 in Super Bowl 59. I think they keep him under 44 rushing yards. Kelsey had 6 targets for 6 catches. I think Kelsey's going to have more because the Eagles' defense leaves the middle of the field open, and Mahomes will try to get the ball to Kelsey because he won't be able to run.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think this game, you can make the case here for it to be a tight ends game, right? Yeah. Eagles, like you just said, now they've been great against tight ends, but the middle of the field there has been a problem for them. And as you pointed out halfway through the season with Quinn Mitchell in the secondary, like those players are elite. So I don't think it's going to be a big wide receiver game for the Chiefs. That means Kelsey, obviously, in big games will probably step up here. And then Goddard could be eating in this game all day long, Sal.
Yes, he could. I agree with you 100%. Your analysis is spot on. This is a tight ends game, exactly for the reasons you just laid out. The Eagles are susceptible in the middle of the field to tight end play. They will key on Mahomes. They don't want Mahomes to kill them in this game with his legs. And so that means he'll be looking for Kelsey for an outlet here or there. Kelsey may not have big yardage. He may not have 100, but he's going to have 8, 9, 10 catches in this game.
Wow.
Okay, again, strong.
Well, as I saw what Ertz did, so I'm picking up what you're putting down, too. Ertz was awesome.
Yeah, he was awesome. He had a lot of catches, right? But how much damage did he really do, right? How much damage in the end? But it's different. It's Again, please do not compare these two teams, Washington and the Chiefs. It's just different, completely different. It's amazing. The Eagles have led for 154 minutes and 24 seconds out of 160 minutes of game time this postseason. That's 85.8%, the highest percentage in a single postseason since the 94 Niners, 30 years ago. 94 Niners, and the 94 Niners were an all-time great team. That was one of the all-time great teams. So this Eagles offense is really, really good. It's the defense you have to be concerned about against Mahomes on third down in the fourth quarter. The Eagles will score in this game. 100% will score. They'll score big in this game. The question is, can they stop Mahomes from coming back?
Wow, they'll score big. Also, plus 10 in the turnover differential in the playoffs. It's a 51-yard field goal for the win. Your level of confidence in Elliott.
Oh, man. Oh, man, that's a good one. I love that one. You put me right on the spot with that one. Wow. 51. So you're right on the cusp. Right? You didn't go 55.
No.
This is what you didn't go 53. You didn't go 49. You went just a little bit outside of his norm this year. My level of confidence indoors.
Yep.
Remember, it's indoors. Indoors, 100%.
Come on.
Okay, you lost me for the first time.
Oh, boy. You're appealing to the mailman and the guy who cuts your grass. That's what they're listening to right now.
Okay, so we're going to we have like a minute left here, Sal Pal, and we're just busting chops here. But
no, that's good. I like it. Hey, Vito's son's normal. That's normal operating procedure. I get it.
Okay.
But I'm not just saying that. I'm saying if it's indoors from 51 yards to win the game, he will make that kick.
All right, 30 seconds here. We're going to get your official pick next Wednesday. But if the Eagles win this game, Barkley's going to win the MVP, right?
No, I think it'll be Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
He's loving Hurts.
Yes, Jalen Hurts will be the MVP. Hey, he was 20 of 28 against Washington.
Hey, don't compare this Chiefs team to Washington.
Yeah, he's 20. No, but he's definitely on a roll. He's out of the straitjacket now. Come on.
Yeah, you're right.
Out of the straitjacket, straight to the MVP. Listen, I think the Eagles will score on the Chiefs. Can they stop Mahomes in the fourth quarter? That's the key.
We'll talk
Don't
to you.
make it too hard. Don't make it too complicated now. Come on now.
We'll catch up next Wednesday. You're going to be live from New Orleans. You're the best. Enjoy it down there, okay?
5 cannolis.
There you go. Sal Pell on the Progressive Guest Line. More props coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Awesome show so far today. It's even better. Former NFL MVP Rich Gannon making his weekly appearance here, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. Good afternoon, Rich. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Mitch, Paulie, it's great to be with you guys. My two favorite dudes. Nothing better than hanging out with my guys every Wednesday afternoon.
Love talking to you. Okay, so you have, like everybody, we get 2 weeks to think about the Super Bowl over and over and over again. Probably think about it a little bit too much. But I always like to, try to formulate an opinion immediately as soon as we have the matchup for the big game. Did you have a strong opinion as soon as you knew it was going to be Chiefs and Eagles?
No, I really think you have to go back to this matchup a couple of year ago. I mean, these guys have some history together. I think, the coaches are the same, the quarterbacks are the same. A lot of the players have experience in this game. Certainly the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Eagles, it's been just a couple of years, guys. I think the last time these two teams got together was the third highest scoring Super Bowl all time. They put 73 points on the board. Mahomes had that great second half. And even Jalen Hurts, had the Eagles won the game and Harrison Butker not made that kick at the end, the MVP of the game would have been Jalen Hurts. He had a phenomenal game, over 300 passing yards, over 70 rushing yards. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. And so I think the Eagles have to feel pretty good about what they saw from Jalen Hurts last week in the championship game against Washington. I think it was one of his best games of the season. He looked relaxed. There's so much conversation about his knee. That wasn't the issue. He ran around. He made plays. He was in rhythm. And, of course, it doesn't hurt to have the best offensive line and the best running back in the game in Saquon Barkley. But I think the Eagles are more than capable of going to New Orleans and going toe for toe, blow for blow with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, Hurts was fantastic, and they were through it a lot in that game last week. If you're Kellen Moore, and you saw what Cook did against Kansas City, how would you attack this defense?
You cannot look, you got to remember what got you here in the first place, right? And the Eagles have the biggest, baddest, nastiest offensive line in football. If you guys have ever seen Jordan Mailata play rugby, the guy is unbelievable. I mean, he is a big dude. I was looking at the numbers, 6'8", 370 pounds. I was watching him run down the field after Saquon Barkley. It looks like he runs about a 4.65 40. So this is the biggest offensive line in football. You've got a back that's more than capable of putting a $175 on anybody. And I don't think you deviate from that. I think that's really who you are. I think the second half rushing numbers are significant. I think when they're running the ball well, that really plays into the play action games and shots down the field with A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. I mean, this is I think without question, this is the most talented roster in the NFL on both sides of the ball. And their line play is really going to dictate whether or not they hoist the Lombardi Trophy. Their offensive line has to win the line of scrimmage. Their defensive line has to create some problems for Patrick Mahomes. I think this is going to be an unbelievable Super Bowl, and I love the over. I thought the over, I saw it early. I think it was 49.5, guys. I think it's around 49. Yeah. I just love the over in this game. I think both offenses will play well.
We had Sal Paolantonio on earlier, about an hour and a half ago from ESPN, Rich, and he said over and over again, trust me, the Eagles are going to score in this game. They will score. The biggest question, obviously, to him is how can they contain Patrick Mahomes? He brought it up several times with us.
You know what's amazing? I was looking at my notes, and you go back and look at who the Kansas City Chiefs are, and they get contributions from everybody. If you put on a red helmet on Sunday, you're going to have a role in the offense. Backup tight ends, backup running backs, third or fourth wide receivers. I mean, the one common theme is the quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. But you look at the numbers. I mean, Travis Kelce's numbers weren't great last week. You look at the receivers. It's 3 or 4 guys making contributions, a couple different running backs. I mean, they just rely so much on that quarterback to make plays in critical situations, whether it's third down, whether it's a short yardage situation, whether it's a red zone shot, whether it's bringing the team from behind. I mean, the thing about the Chiefs, and we've been talking about this a lot, guys, on this show, they're so comfortable being in tight games. They're so comfortable if they're behind in the fourth quarter late. They're just not going to ever push the panic button. They've lived in this world the entire season. Every game that they have played has essentially been a one-possession game. And so they know, and if there's one bet I feel really good about, we could go and do something for 57 minutes on Super Bowl Sunday and not watch any of the game. And we could sit down in our chairs with 3 minutes to go, and it's going to be a game that's within the field goal. I mean, you can almost book it. And I think Patrick Mahomes knows that. Andy Reid knows that. And there's a certain comfort level knowing that, hey, this is who we are. We're not going to blow anybody out, but give us a chance late in the game, and we'll make it happen.
You know this better than anybody. What if you're down a big lineman, though? What if Dickerson's out? And then they also were terrible, Eagles, on the tush-push last week.
I think with extra time, I mean, Cam Jurgens came in, guys, in relief last week, and he was able to get to the finish line. I think you've got 2 weeks. Players don't want to miss out on the Super Bowl. I think they'll do everything they can in terms of getting extra treatment and getting themselves right. But with that extra week, that's going to allow a lot of those Eagle players that are banged up. My guess is that offensive line will start and play well on Super Bowl Sunday.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, former NFL MVP Rich Gannon, he's on the Progressive Guest line. So I totally agree with what you're talking about with the offensive line and the defensive line for the Eagles and how they could control this game. Now, the one time it did not go well for Patrick Mahomes in this game was against the Buccaneers. His offensive line was decimated by injury. And that front four for the Buccaneers was awesome, and they got to him the entire game. Is there a scenario here where the Eagles' defensive line is good enough to put similar pressure on him for 60 minutes?
You know, if you look at the offensive line for the Chiefs, they're really good inside. But Joe Thuney got bounced out to the left tackle position. And to his credit, guys, there's not a lot of left guards in the NFL that can go out and play left tackle and kind of hang in there. Jawan Taylor has been a little bit better this year than he was last year. I just think Andy does a great job. They'll chip, they'll slide the line, they'll help with the backs, they'll do anything they can to take some of the edge off the pass rush. when they need to help one of the tackles or both of the tackles. But Patrick Mahomes is so good, in a congested, muddy pocket. He's got great pocket awareness. He has the ability to step up and step out. He can create and manufacture a lot of offense on his own. I mean, we're talking about the best, not the best quarterback. We're talking about the best player in the NFL. That's really who Patrick Mahomes is. You don't go to 7 straight AFC championship games and a Super Bowl, it seems like about every other year, if you don't have somebody special playing the quarterback position. And here's the other thing, guys. Defensively, the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe one of the smartest units in football. The high football IQ. They understand Steve Spagnuolo's defense. They've been in the system a long time. They recognize personnel groupings, formations, splits, concepts, do a great job jumping routes. This is a really well-coached team. They'll have a great plan together for Jalen Hurts and the boys in 2 weeks.
Can you put this in perspective, what the 2 weeks are like? Knowing that everyone's watching, the pressure, it can change my life, and all the people texting you, calling you for tickets, whatever that may be in your phone.
The 2 weeks is important. A lot of that'll get taken care of in a week. You get all the ticket requests, the hotels and transportation, all that other way. A lot of guys will assign their wife or significant other to deal with that. But this is really a great opportunity for the coaching staff. A lot of these staffs have already jumped ahead, and they'll look at all 17 regular season games, look at all the playoff games. They'll have all those stats and all those analytics, and they'll have a pretty good sense of what the game plan looks like. Then you introduce the game plan this week. So they'll be out there mostly walkthroughs and some light practices. They may have a padded practice once this week, maybe not. But you want to have a padded practice or two before the game. There's no question about that. But I think by the time they roll in to the Super Bowl next week, we do that media night on Monday. These guys have a pretty good sense of who the opponent is, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what their tendencies are, and a pretty good grasp of what the game plan looks like. Then they fine-tune it next week and start to ramp up on Friday to get ready for what is I'll tell you, from the time you walk off the practice field on about 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon, I'm telling you guys, it is a long time before kickoff on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, sleepless nights for many, I'm guessing, as well. I remember vividly a year ago around this time, several prominent media members were saying, I can't believe the Super Bowl's in Las Vegas. There's no way I would have it here. It should be like in Arizona. Players can get in trouble. The good news is this year it's in New Orleans, so players absolutely cannot find trouble in that city.
No, but a lot of teams will do, they'll have their hotel, and some teams will book a hotel on Friday night and get out of the town and go out 45 minutes outside the city and go out to some, a place that's, away from some of the distractions. But look, it's going to be a lot of security around the hotel. The players should be in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Thanks, Rich. You're going to be in New Orleans next week. We'll catch up then, okay?
Yeah, sounds good. Looking forward to it.
There you go. Rich Gannon on the Progressive Guest Line. The team stayed at Lake Las Vegas last year.
Yeah, great spot.
They wanted to be away from the Strip, all of it. Remember that, Paulie?
Yeah.
A year ago? Can't believe the game's in law. It was just the dumbest stuff you're ever going to hear.
Yeah, it goes back to when you can't have legalized sports betting.
No, of course.
Ruin it.
Yeah. Absolutely preposterous. VSiN host Matt Youmans on the show coming up next. He has college hoops bets for tonight, a future Super Bowl bets, and golfers he's on this week at Pebble Beach. A lot to get into with Matt Youmans coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
A lot of bets to get to. VSiN host Matt Youmans joins the program now. He's on the Progressive Guest Line. Let's start NFL Super Bowl, Matt. Tip of the cap to you. I was on the Lions big this year. You were on the Eagles. You had that in the preseason Pro Football Betting Guide. You had them at 16-1. So what is your plan of attack here?
Well, you know what? The Lions might have been the team out of the NFC if they didn't lose 8 guys off their defense, right? So you can't feel too bad about that. I did, in the VSiN NFL betting guide, picked Eagles over Chiefs in the Super Bowl matchup. And I wish I had bet that exact.
Wow.
Because that was 59-1.
Oh.
And, Circa had that up 59-1. It's a lot better than the 16-1 I've got on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. But I'm not going to bet the Eagles in this game. That's my bet in this game. I'm going to look to play this live and try to grab the Chiefs at something like +3 or better. Very similar to what I did last week when the Bills fell behind. I grabbed the Bills +5.5 to +6 in live betting. So, the last time these teams played in the Super Bowl, obviously the Eagles led by 10 points at halftime, ended up losing 38-35. But I don't think the Chiefs are going to lead this game wire to wire. So there should be an opportunity in live betting to play something on KC at a plus price. The other option, and this has probably been mentioned on the network about 100 times this week, but you could bet Patrick Mahomes to win Super Bowl MVP at +120, right, instead of the Chiefs to win the game. But I actually want to get the Eagles in the win column at 16-1 and also cash a ticket on the Chiefs if I can get a middle.
What do you think Hurts does passing and rushing in this game from a prop standpoint?
The passing is so random. I don't know. He went for 131 and 128 in the first two playoff games and then had a breakout game throwing the ball last week. I think Saquon Barkley is going to go off in this game. And if you look at what the KC defense has done, allowed average of 148 yards on the ground in the first couple playoff games, I think Barkley and the Eagles, especially Barkley, can get what he wants to on the ground for the most part in this one. And that's why I'm more inclined to bet Barkley to win MVP at about 3-1 odds than anyone else on the Eagles, because I don't think Hurts is going to have as many running opportunities as some people might think. I actually played Hurts under 38.5 rushing yards. But I'm not going to argue with anyone who wants to bet Barkley over that rushing yards total. Even though it's high, I think there's a great chance he goes over it.
And what do you think an MVP?
Well, I'm thinking Barkley at about 3-1. But again, I haven't played that yet, so I don't want to throw it out there. This is something I'm considering because, obviously I need the Eagles to win the game. And on the flip side is if they don't, Patrick Mahomes is probably going to be the MVP, right? You got +120 out there on him.
Sure. College basketball, the Johnnies were awesome last night against Georgetown. Do you think is there a number out there, in your opinion, that exists that is worth betting for them to win the whole thing?
Yeah, no doubt about it. You watched that game last night. They were up 41-11 on Georgetown on the road. And I've actually touted St. John's. I look back, I made the bet on St. John's in April. And I bet St. John's at 80-1. Well, guess what? This team's first in the Big East. Looks even better on the floor than I thought it did in paper in the offseason. And BetMGM still got 60-1 out there. So I've had the question from people the last couple of weeks, where's the value on the college basketball futures board? Because a lot of bettors are getting into college hoops with football coming to a stop. And St. John's is my first answer. I think that if you grab that 60-1 of BetMGM, I mentioned that last night in JVT, and I think a couple of our listeners bet it. Rick Pitino has got a lot of talent on this team, and that's a coach I believe in. So at that number, even 50-1, 60-1, I think St. John's is your number one long shot play right now.
All right. There was a good article, too. I think it was from Pat Forty, just mentioning the players are so afraid of the wrath if they lose a game, dealing with Pitino as well. And they blew 2 games earlier this year as well. I agree with you on this one. I think West Virginia, who has a pretty good resume with some big wins, catching 9 at home against Houston. What do you think?
It's interesting because if you look at West Virginia's resume, this Mountaineers got some big wins, including beating Kansas on the road. And they played really well at home against some good teams. And getting 8, they got one of the better players in the country, maybe you haven't heard of, and I'm sure you guys have, but Javon Small has been a stud for the Mountaineers. About 20 points per game, 21 points per game in the last 3, 35% three-point shooter, but one of the best players in the Big East. Now, the thing about the Mountaineers, they've been very inconsistent. They look great one game and got awful the next. Hopefully, they show their good side tonight. And I think this is a decent spot to play against Houston. I'm sure you guys watched the Houston-Kansas game over the weekend when Kansas was 99.6% to win the game, and Houston pulled out a miracle at Allen Fieldhouse. Back-to-back road games for the Cougars. I think this is a really good spot tonight to grab West Virginia +9.
How about Ole Miss here, taking on Texas? Chris Beard's former team. What do you make of the number?
Well, it was 6 overnight, and I think this game means a lot to Chris Beard. It also means a lot to Beard because the Rebels have lost 3 in a row. They're 15-5, But the 3 losses, one was in OT, another by 1 point, another by 8 points on the road at a really good Missouri team over the weekend. And it was a week ago when Ole Miss led almost wire to wire against Texas A&M and coughed the lead up in the final 30 seconds and lost. So I think Beard's going to have this team highly motivated for this game, 3-game losing streak against his former team, like you said, the Longhorns. I don't play many favorites in this price range, but I'm on this one. I laid 6 with Ole Miss.
What'd you do with the golf tournament? And Scheffler makes his return. Did you do anything with Scheffler? Let's start there.
You know, Scheffler went out and played the practice round yesterday and birdied the first 6 holes. You know, when you hear something like that, it makes you really hesitant to bet too many futures all over the board, right?
Yeah.
Because if he's out this long and he can step back in and he's got his A game, I'm not going to spray futures bets all over the board here. I did bet Scheffler top 5. It's about even money. You're going to see minus 110, plus 110 out there. I think Scheffler top 5 is a pretty good bet. I also played Ludwig Oberg at, top 10 at about plus 160. Patrick Cantlay, 20-1 to win. I actually bet Oberg to win at 20-1. Cantlay to win at 20-1. Cantlay top 10 at 2-1. Patrick Cantlay, not a player I really like, and he went winless last year. But his last 4 appearances at Pebble Beach, 11th, 4th, 3rd, and 11th. So if you bet him top 10, I think that's a really good play at plus 200. Mitch, I'm also going to get suckered in on Maverick McNeely here.
Here we go.
Yep. 2 top 5s. He grew up on the Pebble Beach course, and you can find Maverick at about 60-1. I also played him top 10 at plus 450, and I can't resist. You know, Maverick McNeely finally won a tournament in the fall, and we always thought if he was going to win a tournament, it's most likely to be at Pebble Beach, where he grew up. This course is in his backyard. Also want to mention it's great to have America's golf handicapper Wes Reynolds back in the house.
Very good. Yeah, and you can get his selections at vsin.com. It's awesome to have him back. You can speak to this because you've known him for a long time. You were doing long shots here, the podcast with him for a long time, betting golf as well. That dude has hit 3 consecutive outrights on the PGA Tour. Harris English at 100-1. He had Nick Taylor at 115 and Sepp Straka at, 50-1 sprinkled in there?
Yeah, it's incredible. The 3-week run he's just had. Some people are going to say, well, there's no way that can continue. Well, that's the best 3-week run I've ever seen a golf handicapper have.
No kidding.
And I have to be candid. I just met Wes Reynolds for lunch at Burger King, and he rolled up in a Rolls Royce. So everything.
Rolls Royce at Burger King, no doubt about it. All right, Matt. Thank you. Best of luck tonight and this week. Okay.
Okay, you bet. Thanks.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go. He was on the Progressive guest line. Good to have Wes back in the mix. Honestly, 3 straight. Come on. That is a heater of all-time heaters.
Morikawa, Day, Cantlay, and for his other picks, read them, vsin.com. As he's on a couple other guys with the long shots. It is nuts. Ready to try something different? Sign up, start playing the ponies on First Bet. First Bet U.S. based offers wagering on hundreds of races every day across the country and around the world. Sign up firstbet.com, promo code VSIN200. Claim a 20% rebate for your first 60 days, up to $200. Head to firstbet.com today. Starting to feel it today. Great job, Westgate, William Hill, Caesars. A lot of creative props hit the board in the last 12 to 24 hours. And there's some great stuff up there now with these Super Bowl props.
Well, and then by Thursday night / Friday morning, every spot, specifically here in Las Vegas, will have everything available then.
Your big ones tomorrow at the Westgate. Yep. Both teams have a 1-yard touchdown plus 310. Shortest drive for a score, 59.5 seconds. Will there be a kick off the crossbar or upright, plus 550. Quarterback to have negative rushing yards, 50-1. Touchdown on 4th down, plus 280. Drive starts inside the 5, plus 140. Team to come back down double digits and win, plus 375. Great stuff up here.
I am going to hate myself if I don't bet Saquon Barkley to win the MVP, and he does.
Okay.
I will not hate myself if I don't bet Patrick Mahomes to win the MVP, and he does. It's plus 110, plus 120.
Yeah.
But almost 3-1 available on Barkley with the year that he's had. So in-pocket plays up next. And by the way, I'm looking at what Mahomes did specifically in the second half against the Eagles 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. The numbers are unreal. I'll share them coming up next.